Jeff Richfield,
Yes.
general contractor out of Nashville.
Yes.
And wearing an interesting pin that I just asked him about. We were at the Clay Clark event, Reawakening Tour, San Antonio, Texas.
Yes.
So Jeff, take a moment and we'll pick up from that. We'll pick up on that discussion we were in here in a minute. I was simply telling Jeff the history of doing this doing this program, why I do it, and if you're familiar with me and you listen to me, then you know that answer. And it started with the Zika virus in 2016 in Miami Beach. But Jeff, take a moment. We'll continue that conversation. Take a moment and explain for listeners who you are and what you do.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. This is really special. Really talking about truth is what we're doing. So getting the truth out is what I'm about. It all starts with Christ, with the Lord, and He's true to my heart. So the truth of the gospel, getting that message out, because He who is wise wins souls. When I had a stroke 6 years ago, I was laying on my deathbed thinking, oh my gosh, this could be it. This could be it. But no, the Lord had a better idea. He totally revived me. And when I came back, I thought every breath now is so precious, every day, every hour, right? To know and to seek the Lord with all my heart. And, maybe make up for my past, sins or what I didn't do. And I've already been filled with the Holy Spirit at the Promise Keepers event, 96. So basically, I'm on fire for the Lord and to share the message of Christ. Through that is compassion. And I love to give. I'm a giver. Jeff means God's peace. And then Richfield. So I have a 70-acre farm in Nashville. We designate that for the Lord's purpose. It's called Eagle's Landing. It's the shape of an eagle. It's a mission base, and it's a mission base of compassion. So what we do there is we went off the grid. We have solar, gardens, wells, and we want to have a community of compassion. So people come there, they're seeking God. Pastors coming through that need rest. They come and get filled up, strengthened up with prayer, worship. We have prayer cabins in the woods. And as a kid, I got saved at a camp. So that was always special to me in Hawaii, and a Kumbaya Baptist camp, right? And so then I went to Promise Keepers and got slain in the Spirit, full of the joy of the Lord. Never stopped since, being fully energized. At 4:30, I'm up, and I just have impactful ideas from the Lord. I get dreams at night about company ideas because I'm an entrepreneur. So my wife is like, can do one thing at a time. I do it one thing at a time. I do it well. And so the Christian camp is called Eagle's Landing. And I hooked up with a friend of mine named Scott McLeod, and he's a great pastor in Nashville at the Foundry downtown. They've been serving the poor for 30 years, and they bought the property from me. And so now we together are partnering to build this epic center where it's a mission base, like I said. So worship, prayer, Bible teaching, entrepreneurial enterprises, petting zoo, basketball, so sports. But the part that's most special to me is healing. So I pray for the gift of healing because I have authority over things like the stroke and some of the past wounds I've had. I can pray with authority over that. I've seen people healed of COVID. I've seen people healed of cancer. So that's one of the special things the Lord is doing in my life. I'm thrilled about that. So yeah, thanks for having me on. There's a lot more to unpack, but that's a little about who I am. I have 2 boys. We're all J's. So I'm Jeff, Jody, Jacob, and James, and Jessica. And so 31 years married. And yeah, it's an exciting ride.
That's great. So Jeff, and thanks for doing that. That's quite the dedication to humanity. And
yeah.
What is happening right now, Jeff, in your country?
Yeah, what is happening? So before 9/11, I was in the woods praying. The Lord gave me a song called "A City on Its Knees." I started singing. We are a city on its knees. We come to pray as a city on its knees, seeking holy hands to Jesus the King. Goes on and on. Anyway, the next month, 9/11 hit. And I thought, oh God, a city's on its knees, right? You gave me this incredible song, this melody, so we recorded that. And what is happening is, I think there's some fraud happening. I think we're getting the smoke screen pulled over us in many areas. Who knows the real story of that even, right? 9/11. And that hit me hard. I was weeping in the woods for souls, people that died. And so that song came out of tears. Then a book came out of that called A City on Its Knees. And I started seeking the truth more and more of the truth, right? I was involved with finances. I was a mortgage guy back in those days. And then mortgage subprime went berserk in 2008, right? All the banks went down, right? And then the government bailed them out, right? Like they always do. So the dollar continues to fall in its monetary value. And now they introduced cryptocurrency, and now like the Biden's paying out $1 trillion here and there. People getting money for free. And the dollar is just falling.
Nothing's for free, though, right?
Nothing's for free, right? There's a cost to our kids' freedoms here on the line. What kind of country are they going to have when they grow up? It's scary, right? So I'm out in the woods just crying out to God as a prophet and just saying, Lord, help America. I'm a patriot by every means. And so I have even a prayer center. In my prayer room is the patriotic Declaration of Independence. I have the founding fathers on my wall, George Washington when he's kneeling down with the horse.
Yeah.
I see that every day. I pray, and I feel like they're almost crying in heaven looking at us going, wake up, America, right? The founding fathers. So I really appreciate what Clay's doing here with the nonprofits like 1776 and you here. Ian, you're doing a great job getting the truth out. Man, we have to wake people up. It's Ephesians 3:16, that the eyes of our heart would be enlightened and understanding, and that's what needs to happen. Like a shift has to happen.
Yeah. So what do listeners need to wake up to?
That's great. I think that there's a veil right now, and they say Armageddon's coming someday. Armageddon really means the removal of the veil. So when the veil is removed, we see more. Remember when Jesus was walking, when he came back, and he says he unveiled the scriptures to the minds of the apostles. And I read that and go, wow, Lord, I want my mind unveiled of the scriptures to see the depth. There's four revelations in the Bible. We only see maybe 2 or 3. There's a greater depth, but there's still a veil. And when that was removed, then we can see the full truth. See him as he is, know things as they are, have discernment of spirits, see what false things are happening in political realms. It's not just in politics where this covering up is happening, right? It's anything to do with greed and money, right? The oil companies, right? The banks. So it's across. Look at the price of gas and food, right? It's just, who's in control here, really? Who is in control? Who's making the decisions of our free country? I don't think it's the people anymore.
What is it? Who is it? What do you think, Joe?
My spirit tells me China's really involved. I mean, I don't study this stuff. I just get things, impressions, right? I see China kind of manipulating Biden in a sense. It just seems like they see us as weak now. It's a little scary. I wake up at
Are we weak?
I mean, we're getting weaker in a sense that our military is kind of, they're leaving their stand because of the vaccine mandate, right? I'm hearing about 200,000 troops that are going to walk away. I heard that today from one of the speakers.
200,000 troops.
A lot of troops, I know. That's crazy.
How many
500
troops?
500 Navy SEALs, she said. 500.
Who said that?
This was one of the women who spoke. And sometimes my memory fails me.
Yeah, that's fine.
But I'm just saying that I heard that. I was flabbergasted. Like, what, they're going to go make their own militia now? I don't know. But I hear there's
it
even
would be constitutional if they did, right? Under the guise of a state.
Yeah. And then here in Texas, right? I mean, this is one of the heaviest states that is USA. And I feel like someday that it could break off the United States and become its own nation if things don't get right. So
and Texas was part of the Mexican Union initially before it absorbed, and it was, I think, its own republic, right? The Republic of California. They were independent states from the Mexican Union before they were absorbed under James Polk into the U.S. Union, is my understanding.
Right. So, I mean, even things like abortion, right? Who's really in control there, right? And who makes those decisions? Are the judges fair with that decision? When does life really begin? I know there's a lot going on with that, but it seems like that should be a state-controlled issue, not a federal government issue. To me, the states could have more ownership and authority. So they made it a federal issue, though.
So is the federal government, has it become too large? Their power? Have the people yielded the federal government in D.C. too many decision-making authorizations?
You have different socioeconomical people. Like if you look at the black population, unfortunately, they bought into the welfare state largely. I think that's a principality that's over them, where they depend on the government to get money, or And it causes the fathers to lack responsibility when that happens. And that's why you have so much fatherlessness in the inner city, and because of that welfare state, right? It's almost like slavery again. And I think it's intentional that happens. It's sad because they have to overcome that slavery state they were in, right? They were set free. And now they have the free checks, the handouts, the welfare. That mentality doesn't get them to the next socio-economical stance that they could have. Now, there's a remnant that doesn't understands that. So I feel sorry about that. That's happening.
Let me pose this. Let me pose this to you, Jeff, and get your thought on this. Now, I was in deliberation, I suppose, with Alan Keyes. I think you were around there,
that's right?
And this is a couple hours ago. This is the angle that I approached in regards to defining the they, right? So Trump's talking about deep state, he's talking about fake news, and I think that a lot of Americans start thinking, well, wait a second, hold on, this isn't just the concept here. There's something really going on. Whether Trump has manipulated himself or some type of a puppet himself, I don't know.
Right.
But nonetheless, if we look at China, and you mentioned China. We look at China, and we say, okay, the Chinese have adopted a form of government that we identify as being communism.
Right.
Okay, so we say, the Chi coms, or whatever the phrase is, or they practice communism. Okay,
Mm-hmm. That's right.
All right. So, at the same time, we look at Russia. We go, well, wait a second, hold on. The USSR. This is the Bolshevik. This is communism. This is a communism invasion that's manipulated the Russian form of government. Now I pull back, Jeff, and I say, okay, well, after World War II, 1945, this is when the central banking system was implemented and adopted by the Chinese. A central banking system. So now I have central banking and communism. Central banking, 1945, is when the Chinese adopted the central bank. This is the same year as the United Nations Charter. This is post-World War II. Is there a global chessboard? Are there pieces on this global chessboard that are being maneuvered and played? So if communism is being practiced by the Chinese and being practiced by the Russians, where does it start? Who developed communism? Well, Karl Marx, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we know as communism. Now, Alan got a little bit. He dug a little bit deeper, and he says, "Well, that's true, but it has morphed, and communism as was written by or developed by Karl Marx theologically is a totally different type of communism that's being practiced by." Okay, I don't know. I haven't looked into communism that much, but I look at some of the basic things here. I'm saying, well, the Chinese did not develop communism. Even if it's not the same type of communism in Karl Marx, it's philosophically this is incepted in Europe. So now this was my argument with Alan, and I want to get your view on this. Sure. You're a religious man.
Okay. Spiritual.
You're spiritual. Okay, you're spiritual.
Yeah.
What religious body globally has been around historically long enough to be able to implement, due to the network that they have, the sophistication, the organization. Look at an organization, because if you're taking an army to a battlefield, you want that army organized.
Right.
You want it doing exactly what you're commanding it to do to achieve your objective.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So one organization historically has that capability and has that global presence. This is the question I pose to myself if I'm saying the United States is developed on the cornerstone. Period. There's no argument about it. There's no argument.
Right.
Freedom of religion. Period.
Exactly.
Right? The Pilgrims, the Mayflower.
Sure.
The voyage from Dartmouth, they left England because they demanded a freedom to practice their religion freely. Okay, that is the cornerstone for the development of the United States, period.
That's it.
There's no argument about it, okay? So then with that, we get the Constitution, we get freedom of speech, we get freedom of press.
Bill of Rights.
Now we're saying speech. I mean, you had Kyle Busch, right? Kyle Busch, a NASCAR driver, call a maneuver, but from a competing racer that cut him off. He says, "Oh, that's retarded." Retarded, and now he's being slapped with having to take social some type of integration, social integration classes by the authority over NASCAR because he uses the word retarded.
Oh.
I mean, this is censorship of speech,
Right.
and we know there's censorship of press. Mm-hmm. Right? We know that. I mean, even though legally big tech is not considered part of the press.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But we know that it is because we are able to use those platforms and make our own publications, whether it's articles or types of quotes or whatever it is. And they're being censored if they don't align with those companies.
Right.
But now those companies, Facebook, Twitter primarily, are now kind of joining in the same philosophical attack on whatever cultural angle might be not their best interest.
Correct.
So, Jeff, what is the global body that may have that type of infrastructure to invade a country economically and begin to tear it apart at its roots from within?
You're not talking about the Roman papacy, are you? The Roman Catholics?
That would be a very valid argument, Jeff. Why do you suggest that?
I mean,
why do you suggest that, Jeff?
You didn't hint that to me, did you?
I don't know. You
spiritual.
May have been the spiritual
came
connection.
out of heaven. I see that. I know the agenda there. I see the hidden areas of that realm.
What do you see?
Jeff,
what do you see?
I see sex slavery, honestly.
Sex slavery. Mm-hmm. How do you see that?
Well, you remember when the Roman Catholic priests were being accused for tormenting young boys?
This is 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
Sure.
The scandal under, what was the Pope?
Not sure of the names, but that was just a physical manifestation of a deeper problem. And so it goes much deeper than just that. I mean, I think there is underground sex slavery going on.
You think?
Yeah. I've seen stuff.
What have you seen?
I've seen images in the Roman Catholic Church in Italy on the walls.
You've been to Italy?
No, I've seen it on internet. So if it's true or not, it looks like it's their image of scenes of demonic things on the walls, of scenes of tunnels, things like this underground. So I don't know if that can be contrived on the internet, but that's just something that I found. And then I heard from, certain musicians, Justin Bieber and others, that...
What has he said?
Well, when you get to a certain place in that height, as popularity goes with musicians, sometimes you're invited to a secret meeting where you're invited to a secret, I guess, cantation where, they may have sex slavery. And he's reported of being invited to one of those meetings and ran out.
He ran. Where did you hear this, Jeff?
This is in a public internet. A friend of mine, actually, who knows his mother.
An interview where Bieber is saying this publicly?
Yes, interview.
Or
I don't know if it's taken down now, but I could probably get it to you.
So he's saying
he's not the only one.
He's not the only one.
Yeah, there's movie stars. There's other musicians. When they get up to a high level, they're making millions of dollars. Influential people. Even I think it was Mel Gibson was invited to one of those. He also refused. This is what I've been told. I didn't look into that one, but credible sources.
So these are secret private meetings that are connected to the Roman papacy, or
no, this is connected to sex slavery.
To sex slavery,
even scary things like eating body parts of babies. I don't know if you've heard of that one.
I've heard of spirit cooking.
Yes.
That's
what I'm talking about. Mm-hmm. Sick stuff. Witchcraft, diabolical, occultism. So everything that we're seeing, I believe, is a manifestation of the spirit realm. So all the things that are happening to me are demonic curses on the land, because the land has to be freed up, and only can happen through the blood, because the blood is the forgiveness of sin. So if there's abortion happening, if there's slaughter of babies and there's such a thing, and the demons are released, it has to be cleansed by priests of God in our land, and making a new covenant with the Lord, repenting and cleaning up things.
And do you think this is connected to the Roman papacy, this sex slavery that you speak of?
Yes.
What do you think?
From what I've seen on the internet and what I've heard from friends and people, that could be a controlling force, like you asked me about. They have the power.
Is it possible that this entity is also controlling the economics of the banking systems in
if they have the power,
the United States?
Sure. Yeah. Deals could be struck, of course, with that kind of power. Yeah, I can't prove that, but definitely possible.
There has been some criticism, I think more recently, being in the past couple of years, and there have been historians that have spoken about this for decades, and even politicians, not many, but Ron Paul is the one that sticks out in my mind. I think there's been others. Kucinich is a former guest on my show out of Ohio, and he's spoken out against it. The Federal Reserve Central Bank. The Federal Reserve Central Bank, to my knowledge, is a private institution. It's not controlled by Congress. The Federal Reserve Act was passed by an act of Congress in 1913 and signed into law by Woodrow Wilson. But the argument to that is, well, it gives the finances of the government, or the ability for the government to run, and keeping in mind, Jeff, that we've got a $30 trillion federal debt, right? 28.9, whatever it is. I mean, it's basically getting to $30 trillion debt.
Right.
We've got, regardless of Democrat or Republican in the Oval Office, we've got that debt growing.
Right, exponentially.
So both of the political parties are feeding into and supporting that debt.
Right.
And therefore, is it possible that that debt is controlled by an outside entity? It could be China. But again, I mentioned, my thought from my view is communism. That's not Chinese. It's European. It's the remnants, the political remnants of what was formerly known as the Roman Empire.
Right.
Germany, right? German.
Sure.
So you've inserted the Roman papacy into this. And hold on now, Jeff. Hold on. We've got Joe Biden, who's the second Catholic president ever of this country. The first being JFK, who openly was critical of this banking corruption, in my view, because he had inserted the U.S. Treasury notes based off of silver, and whereas the Treasury or the Federal Reserve notes were, I don't know what they were based off of. That's a good question, because Nixon, a few years later, had abolished the gold standard.
Right.
So was there any gold in Fort Knox? Is there any gold in Fort Knox? I mean, that's kind of the old cliche question, but hey, nobody really knows.
Right.
And there's no gold standard. So if we get back to this, we can apply the word theory, but it's not theoretical. It's fact. It's factual that the Federal Reserve Central Bank is a quasi-government institution. It's a private bank, so it's not government. It's quasi. I mean, there's elements of it, I suppose, that are government. Could this be leading back to Rome, in your view, Jeff?
I mean, I think that I think all systems are heading back to the camel.
The what?
The camel. It takes wise men and brave men to create the structures that we have, and it takes weak men to do nothing and to have things fall apart, where the systems crash and you're going back to a primitive lifestyle where you're having to ride a camel to work if you're in Egypt. So I think we're going to have to reestablish some basic understanding of where are we and where we're going. For example, the AIs that are out there now, they can read the future or where robotics can actually replace man. Like, where are we going with all this, right? It's almost like we're another Babylon Tower we're creating with all the smart intelligence we have. And I heard the other day there's now a pill you can take that will stop sickness. It's like the Fountain of Youth. Have you heard of that? Fountain of Youth. So take this pill and it stops the genetic cell structures from breaking down. And usually cells will split 5 times, but so it stops it on the 4th time. So it can't get toxins into the system. And so that's going to be interesting when that happens.
Sounds like it might be fool's gold to me. Yeah. Or snake oil.
Right. But yeah, these genetic codes, they found out that they can stop sickness now. And you know, it's just this COVID thing with all the injections and vaccines. And then I heard that Merck had a new, pill too. Is that already out or not?
I'm not sure.
I don't know.
Yeah, an alternative to vaccine is what you're saying.
Mm-hmm. It looked to me like an easier thing than vaccines if you just swallow a pill.
What is your opinion, Jeff? What is your opinion on the vaccination? Do you feel? I mean, we've got Bill Gates openly calling for every human being on the planet to be vaccinated. He said that.
Right.
What does he care?
You know, his patent on his is 666. Did you know that? Of course.
The Microsoft patent.
Yeah. Why is he even involved in health? He's a computer guy, right? So I guess he has care for humans. Come on. You know, his mother and father were the basically inventors of population control. So
the eugenics.
Right.
Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm. One thing I'll tell you about the vaccine, which I believe, if you look in the Bible, Revelation talks about the Antichrist stepping into the temple and declaring himself God, right? Defiling the temple. I can apply that to the human body being the temple, and the vaccines would be defiling the blood where the life is. I think that is actually the 666 that we're looking for.
Let me run something else by you. I've mentioned this quite often today. He's a former guest on the show. His name is Eric John Phelps. He's a theologian. He teaches religious classes based in Pennsylvania.
That's where I'm from. Neat.
And what Eric John, what he talks about is that he's essentially saying that this Roman papacy has been taken over by one of the orders, and this is the militant order of the Vatican. They appoint a superior general. It's been around for 500 years. It's called the Society of Jesus, or otherwise known as the Jesuits.
Wow.
And what he contends is that they have taken control. They have taken control of the United States government by controlling its finances through the Federal Reserve Central Bank. This is what he's basically saying. And he openly states that the COVID-19 virus is a benign virus, which it is. It's proven to be a 99% survival rate. He brings up something interesting, and he brings up something called the Protocols of the Elders of Zion. In the Protocols of the Elders of Zion, he says, though the Jesuits mirror it as being a Jewish group, that it's not Jewish, and that they are simply trying to cover themselves, and it is controlled by the Society of Jesus, the Jesuits. This is what's interesting. And J. Edgar Hoover knew about this. These are unclassified documents, FBI.gov, that the protocol number 10 calls for an inoculation of diseases. This is within the protocol of the Elders of Zion, which this guy, Eric John Phelps, is saying is controlled by the Jesuits. Is this you're now aligning through your biblical studies this 666, the mark of the beast, to this 666 number, which is applied to the Microsoft patent, is also applied to the HR bill, right?
Yeah.
I'm not sure what the
crazy
number is.
Coincidence, huh?
Yeah, are these right? So are you opposed to a mandate on these inoculations and these vaccines?
Oh my gosh, I don't want to mandate at all. No, I think it's horrific. I think it's a Holocaust, especially for our children. My gosh,
It's a Holocaust.
I mean, I'm looking at that on TV the other day at my house. Going, the school teacher's like, "Come on, man, we're gonna get our 5-year-olds inoculated and jabbed." Like, who are you? Like, are you totally brain dead? I mean, we're just a sheep going to a slaughter. It's so sad for our kids, right? They don't have a choice. For a virus which is, 99.9% of kids survive without anything. Why are they going to institute that and then get further down the road, another booster shot? Who knows what the next booster shot is going to happen in?
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm against any mandate, of course.
Thanks for your time, Jeff, and I appreciate you joining the program. Let's just leave some final thoughts, if you will,
yes,
for listeners. Because we didn't get into the cryptocurrency, and I know you've got a history on that or involvement in that. As a country-loving American
patriot,
citizen,
yes,
patriot citizen that honors, appreciates, and values his constitutional rights.
That's right.
That were inherited by you through your family. And anyone listening, if you're in America, we've all inherited this Constitution, right? We've all been given the ability to fight for it, if we, in whatever way, and we're verbally fighting for it, not to suggest any type of physical conflict at all. But what are some final thoughts as we venture further into this tumultuous time? I mean, it seems like the work that we're doing in exposing this fraud is definitely working.
Yes.
But what are some final thoughts that you'd like listeners to walk away with?
I think that the whole thing boils down to this, that if we would return back to the Lord, and that is the Shema in Jewish religion. It's, "Hear, O Israel, the Lord God is one." And that means that you're walking in repentance, not idolatry, because he's the one. And then it is, love the Lord thy God with all your heart, soul, strength, and mind. That's loving the Lord. And then what? Love your neighbors as yourself. If we can get the three things right, I think we have a good chance for a restart. Because then all things will be in order.
Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Richfield. Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah. Have a great day. Thanks for having me on.